don't have any jobs for you, but don't worry, you can employ yourself. And it does sound like a great idea until you look at the statistics. It was a whole change from education being something important that we need to give to our children. Our children need to be educated. They need to become professionals so that the future of the country is secure, to becoming, our children can be customers. We can milk every bit of money out of them. You come out of university and you're in debt. 3 years later, your business has folded, you're now bankrupt. And you're not even, 25? Hello, lovelies. It's a very rainy day today and I'm snuggled up nice and warm, got my cup of tea. The cats are cozy and curled up and we're all just kind of trying to stay nice and sort of snug today. And I thought what we could do is take a look at a video that caught my eye the other day. It was kind of a shocking thumbnail for here because it was showing somebody who appeared to be in quite a bit of distress. And often sort of Rwandan culture is very reserved. People don't often talk about their feelings or display a lot of emotion. So the thumbnail really caught my eye. And the video is called I Cried Whilst Recording This, My Story, The Life of a Rwandan Girl Living in Kigali. So I thought we'd check it out and see what it is and see what is causing so much distress, because it's got quite a few views. It's been out for just over a week and there's been about 8,000 views. So I'm interested to take a look and, see what people are commenting and see what the video is about. So let's dive in. I've just got to apologise if I sound a bit snuffly. I don't have a cold. I've got some kind of hay fever going on or some kind of allergy. I've been sneezing for days. So there's going to be a few cuts in this whilst I stop to blow my nose. I do apologise. Right, let's get into it.
I'm feeling like anxiety, guys. My heart is really pounding, you guys. Oh my goodness. Hi everyone. I didn't plan to cry today, but the moment I started talking, my body just reacted. And I think it's because I've been calling more than I've been saying.
What happened to the camera? Is it gone dark?
Yeah.
Part of the story to success. Okay.
How are you doing? Hope you guys are doing good. I'm recording this. Yeah. I'm recording this video. Let me try to put you guys on the tripod. Alright, let me do it.
Okay, this is for watch hours, isn't it? I feel like this is dragging it slowly for watch hours. On YouTube, we sometimes speak very, very slowly, or we build up the teaser, we build up the hook, because watch hours kind of equal pay. Although this might not be a monetized channel. Usually you need 1,000 subscribers and she's got 6,000, so it should be. And you also need 4,000 watch hours, and it's often the watch hours that people struggle to get. But Rwanda is not part of the YouTube partner program, so you can't monetize a YouTube channel that is based solely in Rwanda. You'd have to have a bank account outside of the country in order to get payment from ad revenue from YouTube. So I don't know, maybe she is just a slow storyteller. Maybe it's for watch hours.
Let me try to put you here. I talk to you guys. Yeah, guys, it's around It's around 10 p.m. and I'm done with everything. You guys,
done with what?
I'm like, I have to record this.
She's playing some music in the background, but it sounds like it might be copyright. So I've used a special AI tool to take out the background and only get the voice. So if the audio on this sounds a little bit strange, it's just because I don't want a copyright strike.
Lost my job.
Oh, I missed that. What was that?
YouTube channel, like I lost my job.
She lost the job.
From then, you guys have been trying to find more opportunities. LinkedIn,
Yeah, LinkedIn is soul destroying. LinkedIn is absolutely soul destroying. I've been watching so many videos lately all over the world where people are being laid off in mass numbers, especially over in America. And there seems to be a trend of laying people off just before Christmas, which I think is doubly cruel and, absolutely a horrific thing to do because, it's the most expensive time of the year. You've just spent a whole load of money on presents and food and travel to go and see people. And how are you going to make that money back if you've just lost your job and going into a brand new year without the security that you had the year before? It is the cruelest time to lay people off. Because then as well, you can't enjoy Christmas with your family because the only thing on your mind would be, I have to tell them, if I haven't already, that I've lost my job and that, we're not as stable next year as we were this year. It's just a really awful thing to do. I mean, there is no good time to get laid off, but Christmas is just an unusual form of cruelty and punishment. And I've also been seeing so many videos lately of young people who cannot get into work. And it isn't just a Rwandan thing, though I think it's felt even more here because we've got high unemployment. What's the youth unemployment rate here? So in 2025, the approximate youth unemployment rate was 15.5% between people aged 16 to 30, which is kind of on a par with the European Union at the moment. Although most other countries count young people as sort of the threshold is 25 and then after that not, but in Rwanda you're still counted as a young person until you're 30, which is an interesting call. Definition matters. Youth unemployment typically covers ages 16 to 24. Rwanda's figures are for ages 16 to 30, so direct comparisons have some limitations. So comparing that with the overall unemployment rate for adults, the statistics seem to have changed slightly. I guess ChatGPT have switched its sources, but youth unemployment is significantly higher than for adults. Like here it's saying 13.6% youth unemployment compared to 9.5% in the over 30s population, in the adult population. Is that a trend that we see across the world? Yes. United States 10.8% youth unemployment compared to 4.1 to 4.6% adult. European Union 15.2% youth unemployment compared to 6% adult. We're seeing massive discrepancies between youth unemployment and adult unemployment across the world right now. It is hellish out there for people looking for work. Hellish.
But mukwenshi nayo Benin are trying for different things.
Sorry to jump in again. She says she's been applying to different things. And I said a moment ago, LinkedIn is soul destroying. I have 2 degrees and I have been applying for things over the past year and getting nowhere fast with it. And one thing that I've noticed with LinkedIn is every single interesting job that you see go past, that you're qualified for, that you think might be interesting or in some way, life affirming, or would advance you in some way. Everything that you go there to apply for, immediately you see this little thing at the top that tells you how many people have already applied for that job. And it's usually over 100 for even the most menial of tasks. And again, I've been watching so many compilation videos online of people, especially young people, but also older people who are looking for a change of career or have been made redundant and are looking for something else. And it's hellish. And that, you're all saying that, you're applying for things that have over 100 applicants. I applied for one the other day and they came back and they said, yeah, no, we really like your application, but we've had over 400 applicants. And you're sitting there thinking they can't read through all of those. And a lot of these jobs as well, something that you probably don't get told is that in many countries like the UK, you have to advertise a job publicly in order to fill it, in order to fill sort of equal opportunities requirements, when in reality, the company or the organisation have probably already got somebody internally that they want to promote to that position, but by law they have to advertise it publicly. And whereas I can understand why, for equal opportunities rights, it's a good thing that you advertise publicly and you interview widely in case there is somebody who is magically better for the job. Like 9 times out of 10, the person who's going to be best for the job is the one who's been shadowing that job for years already and who has already worked for the company, and you already trust them and you already know that they're capable and you know that they turn up and that they deliver. So you go to all of these interviews and all of these applications for jobs that have already been assigned to somebody else, but it's more of a formality that they have to advertise it, and that is... I don't think that there is a law that you have to do that here. I don't know Rwandan employment law well enough. I don't think that there is a law that you have to do that. So here it's not that they've already filled the job, unless maybe it's an international NGO, and then I think you probably do have to do that. But yeah, the competition is still fierce. Massive number of graduates, highly qualified graduates, all applying for a dozen jobs. You know, it's hellscape out there.
Everything I saw there, opportunity, I grabbed that. You know, I love grabbing opportunities.
Okay, guys, I'm really sorry. I've started to do this with so many videos now. I'm just going to speed up the playback because when there's a lot of pauses and sort of spaces in between getting to the point of the story, my brain doesn't slow down. I want to just get to the main points of the story. So I'm just going to speed it up a little.
And I did what I was supposed to do because they were on the interview.
Yeah, here she said, it's been almost 3 weeks, no feedback from anything. And this is so common. Like, I remember when I entered the job market when it was the early 2000s. And if you applied to something, you almost always got a response that said, thank you for applying, unfortunately not this time, or thank you for applying, we'd like to interview you. You know, you always got some kind of feedback. And now exactly what she's saying, if you apply for things, it is almost... across the board, you will never get a response unless they want to interview you. And there have been videos of people who've actually been to interviews and then just never had a response after that, which is weird. Like, if you've actually gone to the effort to go to an interview, be it online or in person, you would expect, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a thank you for the interview response. And people have been saying that more and more often they don't even get that, which is just plain rude, basically.
Even tell me anything about my email. You guys, I was like, I said, why don't you guys reply? Like, they reject him or her.
Yeah, a month passing with no communication. Yeah, I fully understand. It's not unreasonable to believe that you're just going to be ignored entirely, having put in time and effort to put in an application, to do an interview, to do anything. You know, often now it's many different rounds of interviews. Like, there's a first interview, then there's a practical test, then there's a final interview, you know. I have a lot more sympathy at the moment for the job hunters than I do for the companies. I really do. And the companies are like, oh, but we're overwhelmed. We're getting so many emails. We're getting so many applications. Yeah, well, suck it up, you know? You should be able to administer yourself in such a way that you don't come across as cold and uncaring. Even if it is an automated message, you can set up an automated message that changes the name of the applicant at the top and just sends a nice little... thank you so much for your time and effort. We're really sorry, but due to the weight of applicants, we can't give a personal response to every person, but unfortunately, you know, you haven't been selected this time. And, you know, you write one email and it goes out to thousands of people. So you've got no excuse other than technical incompetency to be that rude as a company. So, yeah, I mean, I have so much more sympathy for her than I do for the companies right now.
Interview within the upcoming 1 week. No, because you didn't even say anything. This guy, that is so upsetting, for sure. Rejecting, as simple as that.
Yeah, and when you send a response email for them not to respond is just ignorant, you know? It's ignorant of that company to just not even bother to give a response to somebody by email when they request one. And again, it's like, oh, but we've got so many applicants. Oh, well, boo-hoo, poor you. You know what I mean? These are people's lives. And I think if a company is that rude when it comes to interviewing people, when it comes to sorting applications, then they're not a company you would ever want to work for. Because if that's, they're treating strangers that might not just be strangers, but might also be customers one day. It's a really bad look. But all over the world now, companies have realised that they can just enshitify their application process now. They don't owe anybody an explanation for anything. So, yeah, I really feel for her. I really, really do. It's hellish out there, really hellish.
Mu bindi bintu apana nyine kumusiga aho ngaho.
Why does it keep going
I don't know.
dark and then light on the screen?
I don't know how to even say this.
Oh, she's got a ring light. She keeps changing the lighting setting.
Next, I've been applying on LinkedIn. Still applying on opportunities mbonye ariko ayo na process nange waransubiza. Man, I feel like I want to work with myself. I want to get self-employed. I want to be self-employed this time around.
Right, yeah, this is the self-employment trap. And again, this isn't unique to Rwanda. They've been doing it in the UK for years as well. Like when both of my parents were young, you could get a job with the government, the council, local authorities. You could become a civil servant. Sorry, I've got a croaky voice. You can become a civil servant, or you join a company and you stay with that company all through your life, and you get a good pension at the end of it. And that was perfectly possible. And then that's what was expected for the next generation. So my generation, talking about my generation. That wasn't the case. When my parents went to university, they were the first people in their families to get degrees. If you had a degree, it meant something. It meant that you were going to get a good job, and they did. And it was a very, predictable package. You work for us, we pay you a decent retirement fund. It was all quite straightforward. Nowadays, nobody is expected to stay in the same job for their entire life. There's going to be several different career changes along the way. Not just a change of employer, but a complete pivot in the direction of your career or what you're doing. And government jobs are, nowadays fairly unobtainable. There are a lot less of them. Funding has been cut. Government departments have been cut. Look at America and how fast they're shedding civil servants right now. So that is no longer a guaranteed career path. And so what governments have been doing for a long time is going, we don't have any jobs for you, but don't worry, you can employ yourself. You can be self-employed. You can be master of your own career, master of your own destiny. Doesn't that sound good? And it does sound like a great idea until you look at the statistics. I haven't reviewed the statistics for quite a long time, but the major word that came out all over the world was entrepreneur. You can be an entrepreneur. You can work for yourself, set up your own business. And one of the key statistics, especially when I used to be a consultant on this, was that 70% of small to medium businesses, so the businesses that these entrepreneurs set up, will fail within the first 3 years. And about 10 years ago, I was reviewing a program that trained people in entrepreneurial skills. And I went in to review how successful they were, whether or not the people who graduated from their program were running successful businesses, whether or not they were getting the training that they needed, and, whether or not they felt they could expand their training into other areas. I was just doing, I was doing the review of all of that. And one of the questions that I had for them, because they were really promoting how many graduates they had, how many people were running these businesses, and my question for them was, well, this statistic exists, that 70% of small to medium businesses will fail in the first 3 years. What is the training? What is the plan for your graduates whose businesses fold? What is the plan B that you're setting them up with? what advice are you giving them to prepare them for failure? Because, you don't want to have to prepare people for failure. You want everybody to have amazing businesses. They're all going to produce a unicorn in the first year. But you've got to be realistic about it. The statistics say that the overwhelming majority of entrepreneurial first-time businesses are going to fold within 3 years. The response they came back to was, oh, but we're training them in the entrepreneurial spirit, they said. They're going to be fine. It doesn't matter if their businesses fall apart because they'll be entrepreneurs. They'll have that spirit in them. They'll be able to start another business and it'll be bigger and it'll be better. And they'll do amazing things the second time around or the third time around or the fourth time around. And I had an issue with that. Because, harking back to my parents again, when my parents went to university, it was free for them. They got a university education for free. When I went to university, I was one of the first generations where you actually had to pay for that. And what you had to pay for that is nothing compared to what you have to pay today for that. And, it was a whole change from education being something important that we need to give to our children. Our children need to be educated. They need to become professionals so that the future of the country is secure, to becoming, our children can be customers. We can milk every bit of money out of them and tell them that it's not just a good thing to have a degree, but if they don't have a degree, they're screwed. We're not going to employ them if they don't have a degree, and not only do you have to have a degree, but you've got to pay for it now. And that was the change in mentality that Rwanda is now seeing. Like, you've got all of these kids, exactly the same as the UK now, who are coming out of university in debt. So you're 21, you're leaving university in debt with a student loan hanging over your head. There are no jobs. So what you do is you start your own business because you're being fed this message that you can be a successful entrepreneur. Entrepreneurism is your way out of this. Doesn't matter if there are no jobs. You can create jobs. You can be an employer. You can create jobs for other people. So you come out of university and you're in debt. 3 years later, your business has folded. You're now bankrupt. And you're not even, 25. And the other part of this is the human aspect. Is when your business fails, it's not just numbers on a sheet of paper. It's not just accounting issues here. What we're talking about here is your image of yourself, your self-confidence, and the image of yourself in the eyes of your family, who all thought you were going to be a very successful business owner, who might have invested some money in your business. You might have employed friends, family, and strangers in your business. And when your business goes down, you've lost their money, you've lost your own money, you've had to let go of people that you cared about, your employees, utterly soul destroying. And we wonder why there's a mental health crisis going on in, capitalist countries right now. It's all over the world right now. I mean, it's just an insane situation to be in. So I am hearing what she is saying. And yes, I think entrepreneurism and starting your own business is a fantastic idea if you've got a business idea that you really want to go with, that you're passionate about something, you really want to set something up and you think it can work and you've done your market research and you're pretty convinced it's a good business idea. I do not think entrepreneurism is the answer to desperation. I think if you go into it because there is nothing else you can get, and you have to think up a business idea and you have to believe it works and you have to make it work, and it fails, which the statistics say it is very likely to do, it's a recipe for just burying your sense of self-worth and any finances or savings you had. And I think it's irresponsible of governments to say that entrepreneurism is the way out of desperation, poverty, unemployment. Because I don't think so. I think from what I saw when I was reviewing these programs, sometimes it can get you further into trouble than out of it. Oh, sorry, right, continuing. I feel for us.
Am I stupid, you guys? Am I silly? I don't know, CBs. But ariko on the other side, I'm thankful because I've been studying, I had this class I was taking 3 a.m. kubera ko niyo muri India, and thank God I managed to finish it. My certificate near Sprank boot camp for by Think Crowdly upskill your career in IT, things like that. And mushto wanjye wayimpaye kuri LinkedIn nawe thank you for the opportunity. I've been feeling so discouraged, you guys, to the extent this bed of mine no how I stand. I don't even I don't like to go out. I don't do anything. It's like I'm sleeping, waking up.
Yeah, that sounds like depression. That sounds like depression is creeping in. And she needs to know she's not alone. And she needs to know it's not her fault. That every country everywhere is going through this, and that, it's not for her lack of trying or her lack of skills. She's even doing online courses to try to get better, to become more employable. It's not her. Our governments, and it's especially difficult to say this coming from a country where we elect our politicians to serve the people, and they're not serving the people, they're serving themselves. They're not addressing this. And a lot of governments are run by people who are getting on in years, who are closer to my years than her years, and they don't understand this issue. They're not seeing this problem or the toll it is taking on people's mental health and self-worth. And this is the future. These people here that we're watching, these young people here, are our future. They are the future of a country, and they're all starting to feel like this, and they've got no faith and no fight left. It's depressing to watch. And there are people in the UK saying this. There are people in America saying this. People in Africa saying this. It's a global panic right now, or it should be, but I think the panic is that nobody is panicking about it, and they bloody well should be. It's and also it's this love of money over basic quality of human life. Like today we have so much ability to feed people, to house people, to clothe people, and instead it's like, no, you have to get into the rat race, you have to climb the ladder, you have to be making loads of money or you're not successful. And our governments are feeding us that concept. It's like it's all about sort of the luxury hotels and not about the stable foundations. And that's the problem, because at some point your luxury hotels are going to collapse and all you're going to have left are your foundations. And if your foundations are feeling this crumbly right now, it's a problem, isn't it? It's a problem. And there's no real focus on youth mental health and quality of life over quantity of money. I really feel I want to give her a hug. I really do feel for her, and I think it's very brave of her to be saying this out loud on her YouTube channel. Because like I say, in Rwanda, people don't often talk about personal feelings, don't often show a lot of emotion. And I think it's very brave that she is, because I think she's highlighting a point that many, many people here can relate to. I've seen so many messages go by on social media forums, people desperate for jobs, people feeling like their lives aren't going anywhere. It's true. There is absolutely no social mobility at the moment. Again, my parents' generation, massive social mobility, which means that you can start in one income bracket and you can end in another. You can move upwards, you can, buy a home, move city, find a job. That's social mobility. And right now, it's all on lockdown, is everybody's just stuck where they're stuck. And I'm going to say I feel it in my age generation as well. So I'm in my 40s and a lot of my friends are saying the same. It just feels stagnant and like, you're really clawing to get whatever you can get and you're not getting very far with it. And you do look back and you're sort of like, hold on a minute here, I have 2 degrees. What was the point of that? It's a really difficult one. So, yes, I really am feeling for her. at the moment. Because it's starting to feel like there's fewer and fewer avenues to go down. Because before, you were told if you were an academic, if you went and got your degrees, you would get a guaranteed job. It would be a good life. You'd have opportunities. And now we're kind of being told like, oh, you know, education isn't really worth it because it doesn't lead to better jobs. It doesn't lead to bigger opportunities. Therefore, you know, don't bother with that. Set up your own company, set up your own thing. Just do your own thing from the beginning. And there's this horrible, horrible repetition of the stories of, you know, most of the tech giants dropped out of university, dropped out of schooling earlier on, didn't bother to finish their degrees and became multi-billionaires. What it doesn't tell you is that their families all had a bit of money. So you're not really seeing the support system that they already had in place before they took that risk. And now we're telling people who don't have families with money, who don't have that support system, who don't have that network, that they can do the same thing. And most of the time you really can't. Yeah, I hear her, and it's a global issue, and she needs to know she's not alone, and it isn't her fault, that this is the crappy state of things right now all over the world. And that, you know, it's not her. It really isn't her.
But I don't care. My side hustles haven't been going the way I want. The only thing remaining here is for YouTube. So, kindly like my videos, go watch.
I have to say I like YouTube a lot. I know that it's very easy to spend all your day here. Like, for every short video that you see, there are hours of filming and editing and, you know, tweaking that goes into every video. But it does help you to fill the time, and it helps you to feel like you have some agency, that you have some voice, that somebody might be listening. When you've got entire corporations telling you you're not worth a response, to, you know, have a community of people who rally around and do post responses and do tell you that you're worth something. I think it's important, and I'm glad that she's got that platform. And she's bringing up some really important points, you know.
Umaze kuyireba, please make sure ko you like, you comment, you subscribe and you share. Yeah, and you tag me on your social medias.
Hope she doesn't mind me reaction videoing it on mine, but I think what she's saying is important. It's important to hear.
You're supporting me, you guys. YouTube is something I've been doing, even though I'm failing. I know good to it.
She's not failing. She's got 6,000 subscribers. How long has she been on there? I mean, this video's got over 8,000 views. She's not failing. She joined in 2019, so a lot more recently than I did. She's doing very well at it.
Because I love my channel, and I've been struggling with it since. Still struggling with it. I don't know.
I do hope it's monetized, but I get the feeling it might not be, because like I say, if you are in Rwanda, Rwanda is not in the YPP YouTube Partner Program. It doesn't mean you can't make money. You can make money if you get sponsorship from a business. But again, you know, the marketplace in Rwanda is very small, so not a lot of businesses approach YouTube channels, because as well, a lot of businesses in Rwanda don't quite understand YouTube yet, don't quite understand how it can promote their businesses, or, you know, how to approach or work with partners or YouTube channels. But if you can get sponsorship, that can be a way to monetize what you're doing, but you can't make ad revenue if you haven't got a bank account in a country that is in the YPP. It's a difficult one.
Hey guys, let me stop by here. Bye.
I won't lie, some days I feel discouraged, trying again and again, applying, waiting, hoping, and sometimes getting silence instead of answers. It can make you feel invisible, like your effort doesn't matter. And we're fighting so hard to be a part of companies that already make you feel like that before you've even joined them. No. But it's getting difficult. You know, what do you do when the companies you're applying for don't offer you a leg up, and starting a business is dangerous financially and emotionally what other options are there right now? And the whole world is starting to ask this. She really isn't alone. And I do worry about Rwanda because, you know, I come from the UK. I worry that here, from what I've been seeing over the past decade or two, we're speed running the worst of capitalism. And what I mean by that is that we are adopting certain systems, certain tax systems, or certain, you know, certain marketing systems, certain education systems, certain financial systems that are not working in the West, that are causing this kind of deep unhappiness and youth depression in Western countries, and we're copy pasting them over here, and we're doing it even faster because we've got this whole thing about leapfrogging here, is, you know, taking a system from somewhere else and just adopting it wholesale to do it faster and faster and implement it faster and faster without having to build the system from the ground up. That's called leapfrogging, and it's a big thing in development. But the problem is that if you don't take the time to build the systems from the ground up, from your community up, then you're just basically taking a computer program with all the bugs already in it and running that program. And I feel like we're getting a lot of that at the moment, is we have speed run youth depression and unemployment here. And we're calling it progress. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's some progress happening. It's good. There's a lot of infrastructure happening, a lot of roads being built, a lot of big hotels going up. But on the social level, is this progress? Because as well, you know, if we're trying to copy the West and we look at where the West is now, that's where we're going to end up as well, only very, very quickly. And it's not going well over there. I don't know if anybody's noticed, it's not going well over there. So we have a chance at the moment in Rwanda to look at what isn't working in the West and look at how the systems are failing or glitching or how they need to be reworked in the West, and do that here before we create the exact same problems again for the people of Rwanda. I don't know. I feel for her. She's talking absolute truth there. You only have to look on social media, you know, and go through the forums to see so many young Rwandans saying the same thing. And then you look on social media and you see so many Americans, British, European, Australians saying exactly the same thing. It's a generational screw over. You know, you've got the people who've already got everything telling those who have got nothing yet that, you know, it's all right, be an entrepreneur, be your own boss, start your own company because there ain't no jobs for you. I don't know, it makes me a bit mad. I'm very sympathetic and unbelievably grateful that I'm not young anymore. Because I think it is an absolute viper pit out there. So I very interesting to find her channel. And I hope something works out for her soon. I really do. Oh yeah, because there's a picture here of her. And on her channel, there's a picture here of her in her graduation gown, graduation cap. So, you know, clearly education is something she's worked very hard at, something that, you know, she values. And she has put in the effort and she's still getting nowhere. It's like running on quicksand. You know, you're running, you go nowhere but down. I feel like it's an international issue right now. And I feel like Rwanda has a chance to do it differently if it wants to. You know, the question is the will there from the powers that be? Is there the will there to look at what isn't working in the West and say, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're going to do something different. We're going to come up with something better, more socially sustainable and more fulfilling for, you know, for our next generation. Let's see.